Good morning, children. Hope you are fit and fine and following the only principle to fight against this pandemic, that is COVID-19 or coronavirus, by staying at home. Students, we are passing through a tough time. Not only India, but the entire world has got enwrapped in the clutches of this deadly disease, due to which our studies are also getting affected. So I thought I should interact with you through this video. Students, today I am going to discuss with you the first chapter of class 12th English book Flamingo. The chapter's name is The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet. Students, the central theme of this chapter is nationalism, or love towards your nation. Let me summarize you about the author of this chapter. Alphonse Daudet, who was born in 1840 and passed away in 1897, was a French novelist and short story writer. The Last Lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War, which started in 1870 and ended up in 1871, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of, but now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into the Prussian hands. The story deals with the theme of language imposition and language loyalty. You know, children, our country, India, was also once a slave of Britishers, but it was the effort of revolutionaries that we are building the free air. The revolutionaries laid down their lives for the nation, but they did not leave the love for their country. They did not leave their language. And you know, the time you have the hold on your language, it means till the time you keep your language intact, you have the key to the prison. The story highlights the pain that is inflicted on the people of a territory by its conquerors by taking away their right to study or speak their own language. It means now they would not be able to study French because German was imposed on them. Let me summarize you this chapter. The protagonist of this chapter is Franz, a small boy. One day, when he started for school, very late in the morning, he was afraid. He was afraid because he was afraid of being scolded by his teacher, M. Hamel, as his teacher was to question him on participles, and he did not know even the first word about them. He thought of running away and spending the day out of doors, and he tried to. He was enchanted by the warm, bright day, the chirping birds, and the Persian soldiers dwelling in the open field back of the sawmill. All these scenes were very tempting to him. He stopped there and enjoyed for some time, but then he resisted the temptation and hurried off to the school. There was a crowd in front of the bulletin board or the news board near the town hall. what the blacksmith asked Franz not to go so fast because he would be able to reach in time. He assured the boy that he would go to his school easily and very soon he will reach there. Usually, there used to be a great bustle when the school began, but that day everything was as quiet as Sunday morning because Sunday is a rest day. Franz peered through the window and saw his classmates already seated in their places and his teacher, M. Hammer, walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. Franz opened the door and went in. He blushed and was frightened because M. Hamel was known to be a strict teacher, very strict and full of principles. Franz was shocked when M. Hamel very kindly asked him to go to his place. Franz noticed that the teacher had put on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered. He wore this only on inspection and prize days. It means his teacher used to wear such kind of dress on special occasions. The village people were sitting quietly on the usually empty backbenches. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had bought an old primer. Primer here means a nursery book or a book of small kids. M. Hamel said that it was the last lesson he would give them. Last lesson? Franz was shocked. After some time he understood that henceforth only German was to be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master would come the next day. This was their last lesson of French. He wanted them to be very attentive. He means Mr. M. Hamel, their teacher. Now Franz felt sorry that he had not learned his lessons properly. The idea that M. Hamel was going away made the narrator forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Now Franz understood why M. Hamel had put on his fine Sunday clothes, because that too was a special occasion, as it was the last day for the French to be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. And why the old men of the village were sitting there? They had come to thank the master for his 40 years of faithful service and to show their respect for the country that was theirs no more, because now it was under the clutches of Germans. Hamel called Franz and asked him to recite in front of the blackboard. But he stood there silent. He could not even move his fingers. As usual, the teacher did not scold him. Now, it was not usual. He confessed that his parents and he were at fault. It means the teacher M. Hamel confessed that it is not the fault of the little boy, but it is the fault of the parents and M. Hamel himself. Then he talked of the French language, the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical. He asked them to guard it among them and never forget it. Their language was the key to their prison. As I told you earlier, that the time you are having your language with you, no one can enslave you. Then they had lesson in grammar and writing. The pigeons cooed very low on the roof. Friends thought if they would make even the pigeons sing in German. Students, this phrase is sometimes asked in the exams, that French thought, will the Germans impose the language on even pigeons too? Will they make them sing in German? What does it mean? It means the rigidness of French, that he was sure that Germans can impose their language on humans, but not on animals or birds. All the while, MML was sitting motionless in his chair and gazing at one thing or the other. The sister was packing their trunks in the room above, as they had to leave the country next day. After writing, they had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their ba bee bee bo. Even old horses were crying. All at once, the church clock struck 12, and then the midday prayers started. Children, now see how the French reacted. You know what happened when they were chanting the prayers? At the same moment, the trumpet of the Persians returning from drill sounded under the window. MML stood up. He wanted to speak, but something choked him inside his neck. Then he took a piece of chalk and wrote on the blackboard as large as he could, "Vive la France." After this, he stopped and leaned his head against the wall. Without a word, he made a gesture with his hand to indicate that the school was dismissed and they can go. Vive la France means long live France. It means their hopes never ended. And as you can see today, France is an independent country. So children, hope that you have got some idea about this chapter. For any queries, you can contact personally on my number, which I have provided to you. Thank you.